Ryan's office revenge. It happened at 10:15 a.m. on a Thursday. Logan Pierce stood there in his $2,000 suit, finger hovering over the delete button like he was about to perform surgery. The entire management team was watching. Hell, even some of our biggest contractors were in the room for what they thought was a routine quarterly review. My name's Russell Hayes. I'm 48, and I've been in construction consulting for 22 years. What happened that morning changed everything, but the story really starts 18 months earlier when I first realized Logan was gunning for me. I came into construction the hard way. 8 years in the Army Corps of Engineers taught me two things. Build it right the first time, and the guy next to you is only as good as his word. When I got out at 26, I figured I'd translate that into civilian construction. Started as a junior project coordinator, worked my way up through estimating, project management, finally landing in vendor relations. That's where I found my calling. See, construction isn't just about concrete and steel. It's about knowing which concrete supplier actually tests their mix designs and which steel fabricator can hit a delivery date when your project's already behind schedule. After 22 years, I knew every major supplier in the tri-state area. More importantly, they knew me. I'd built what I called my vendor ecosystem, a detailed database of every supplier we'd ever worked with. Not just basic info like pricing and capacity, but the stuff that really mattered. Which project managers would actually answer their phones at 6 a.m. when you had an emergency delivery? Which crews showed up sober and ready to work? Who you could trust when a job went sideways, and trust me, they always go sideways. The database had taken me 18 months to build. Every supplier contact, delivery pattern, quality record, financial stability assessment, color-coded timelines showing seasonal availability, risk assessments based on actual performance, not just credit reports, performance histories going back 5 years, cross-referenced with project outcomes. But it wasn't just spreadsheets and data points. I knew that Tony at Apex Steel had a daughter getting married in June, so his delivery schedule would be tight that month. I knew that Riverside Concrete's new plant manager used to work for a competitor that cut corners, so I'd keep extra close tabs on their quality control. I knew which suppliers would work weekends to save a project, and which ones disappeared the moment something got complicated. This knowledge had saved our company serious money. When Hurricane Sandy hit 3 years ago, and half our suppliers couldn't deliver, I knew exactly who had backup capacity and alternative sourcing. While other firms were scrambling and paying premium prices, we kept our projects moving. That disaster response alone saved us $800,000 in potential delays and cost overruns. The year before Logan arrived, my vendor management had contributed to a 15% reduction in project costs across our portfolio. Not through cheaper materials, through better relationships. Suppliers who trusted us gave us priority delivery slots. Contractors who knew we'd pay on time offered better pricing. When problems came up, and they always do, our vendors worked with us instead of against us. Then the board hired Logan. Logan Pierce, 33 years old, Wharton MBA, Director of Operational Excellence. His LinkedIn profile was full of buzzwords about digital transformation and data-driven optimization. The guy had never spent a day on a construction site, but he had graphs. Lots of graphs. His first week, he called me into his office. The walls were covered with printouts, pie charts, trend analyses, efficiency matrices. He'd been given carte blanche to modernize our operational frameworks, which is MBA, speak for finding ways to cut costs without understanding what those costs actually buy you. "Russell," he said, not looking up from his laptop, "I've been reviewing your vendor management approach. Impressive outcomes, but the process isn't scalable. We need systems that don't depend on institutional knowledge." institutional knowledge. That's what he called 22 years of learning which suppliers deliver and which ones make promises they can't keep. To him, my database was a liability because it couldn't be easily transferred to someone else. He wanted systems that any junior associate could operate. I brought him 3 inches of project reports showing how my vendor relationships had saved us $2.8 million over the past 2 years. Hard numbers, documented savings, testimonials from project managers about crisis situations where the right supplier contact had saved their timeline. He flipped through maybe 5 pages before closing the folder. "This confirms what I suspected," he said. "We're over-investing in relationship management when we should be optimizing through algorithmic vendor selection." Personal connections create bias in the decision-making process. That's when I knew we were speaking different languages. Logan saw efficiency as the elimination of human judgment. I saw it as the intelligent application of human experience. He wanted to replace relationships with algorithms. I knew that in construction, algorithms don't return phone calls at midnight when your concrete truck breaks down and you've got a pour scheduled for dawn. But I also knew something Logan didn't. I'd been in enough corporate environments to see this movie before. The new MBA comes in, promises the board huge efficiency gains, starts cutting everything that looks like overhead. Sometimes it works, usually it doesn't. But the MBA gets their promotion and moves on before the consequences catch up. I started keeping better records after that conversation. Not just vendor performance data, access logs, file histories, email trails. In the Army, we called it CYA, cover your ass. In corporate consulting, it's called documentation. Same principle. Good thing I did, because Jordan Walsh had been watching me for months. Jordan Walsh sat 2 desks over from me in our open office layout. Nice enough guy, mid-30s, always asking thoughtful questions about how I tracked supplier relationships, how I predicted delivery problems before they happened. I figured he was just trying to learn the business. Fresh out of project management certification, eager to understand the vendor side of construction consulting. Turns out he was feeding everything back to Logan. I should have seen it sooner. Jordan's questions were too specific, too focused on my processes rather than the outcomes. He'd lean over when I was updating my database, making casual comments about my color coding system or asking how I weighted different risk factors. "That's really smart, Russell. Mind if I take a screenshot from my notes?" At first, I was flattered. After 22 years in this business, you don't often get young guys asking for your expertise. Most of them think they can learn everything from YouTube videos and industry blogs. Jordan seemed different, respectful, genuinely interested in understanding the craft of vendor relations. I started noticing the pattern 3 months after Logan arrived. Jordan would ask me about a specific supplier relationship on Tuesday, and by Thursday, Logan would have questions about that same supplier in our weekly team meetings. Coincidence, I thought. Then, it happened again. And again. That's when I started checking the access logs on our shared server. Our IT system tracked everything. Who accessed what files, when, for how long. Most people don't bother checking because it's buried in the administrative tools, and frankly, most people trust their colleagues. But my Army training taught me to verify trust with documentation. Jordan's name was all over my files. Weekend logins at odd hours, downloading sections of my database, copying relationship notes I'd never shared with anyone. 47 unauthorized access events over 8 weeks. The guy was conducting industrial espionage 2 desks away from me. Logan's name was there too. He'd been accessing my files since his 2nd week on the job, pulling vendor performance data, relationship timelines, supplier contact information. They weren't just dismissing my methods, they were stealing them, trying to reverse engineer what I did without understanding why it worked. The irony was perfect. Logan wanted to eliminate the human element from vendor relations, but he was using stolen human intelligence to build his automated systems. He was trying to strip the relationships out of relationship management while simultaneously mining those relationships for data. I didn't confront them. Not yet. I had a divorce settlement to think about. Sarah and I had split the previous year. 24 years of marriage ended over what the lawyers called irreconcilable differences. What it really came down to was that I worked too much, and she wanted someone who was home for dinner. Fair enough. The settlement left me with half our assets and a monthly alimony payment that required steady employment. At 48, getting fired isn't the career setback it is at 28. It's a potential catastrophe. The construction industry talks a good game about valuing experience, but when it comes time to hire, companies love young guys with fresh degrees and lower salary expectations. I'd seen too many veterans of this business struggle to find comparable positions after getting pushed out by cost-cutting initiatives. So I played it smart. I started keeping my real database offline. Every relationship note, every supplier insight, every piece of institutional knowledge that gave me value, I copied it to an encrypted drive that never touched our company network. The version that stayed on the shared server became a decoy, professional enough to meet basic job requirements, but missing the depth that made it actually useful. When Jordan accessed my files now, he was stealing intelligence that looked comprehensive but was actually hollow. When Logan pulled data for his automation project, he was building algorithms on incomplete information. They were getting the shell without the substance. Meanwhile, I kept doing my job. Mason Brooks from Atlantic Construction called about a troubled project downtown. Concrete supplier was 3 weeks behind schedule, and the weather window was closing fast. I knew exactly who to call. Elena Parker's team at Riverside Development had just finished a similar project, and their concrete contractor, Metro Materials, had extra capacity. One phone call. Problem solved. The project got back on track. Atlantic saved $75,000 in delay costs, and Metro Materials picked up a new long-term client. Logan's vendor selection algorithm would have suggested the lowest bidder from our approved list, a company that was already overcommitted and couldn't have delivered for 6 weeks. That's the difference between managing vendors and building relationships. When Mason needed help, he didn't call our customer service line or submit a ticket through our project management software. He called me directly because he knew I'd have an answer. More importantly, he knew the answer would work. But Logan was building a system where personal calls wouldn't matter. His vendor optimization platform would match project requirements with supplier capabilities using machine learning algorithms. No bias, no favoritism, no human judgment clouding the pure efficiency of data-driven selection. He'd been working on it for 6 months, using my stolen relationship data to train his models. The system could predict which suppliers offered the best pricing for specific project types, which ones had the shortest delivery times, which ones scored highest on quality metrics. On paper, it looked impressive. What it couldn't predict was which suppliers would actually deliver on their promises when everything went wrong. 3 months before the big presentation, I started hearing rumors. Gabriel Stone from accounting let it slip that they were planning to eliminate my position after the 3rd quarter. Budget optimization, he called it. Logan's automation platform would handle vendor relations going forward, managed by a junior associate who'd follow algorithmic recommendations instead of building relationships. That's when I knew the presentation wasn't going to be a showcase. It was going to be an execution. Logan scheduled it as client retention, lessons from internal best practices. The agenda looked innocent enough. Review successful vendor management strategies, analyze performance metrics, identify scalable processes for company-wide implementation. But I read between the lines. He was going to use my own data to justify eliminating my job. 2 weeks before the presentation, I prepared my defense. Not an emotional appeal about the value of experience or the importance of relationships. Hard data, financial impact analysis, risk assessments, case studies showing how my vendor network had saved specific projects from catastrophic failures. 53 pages of documentation proving that relationship-based vendor management delivered measurable ROI that no algorithm could replicate. It was my professional life's work, quantified and formatted for board-level review. But I also prepared something else, a complete backup of everything Logan thought he'd already stolen, plus 6 months of additional relationship intelligence that never made it to the shared server. Insurance, in case things went the way I suspected they would. The morning of the presentation, I knew exactly what was coming. But Logan didn't know what I had waiting for him. The conference room was already packed when I walked in at 10 a.m. Logan had invited everyone, the full management team, senior project managers, and what really caught my attention, 3 of our biggest contractor clients. Mason Brooks from Atlantic Construction was there, along with Elena Parker from Riverside Development and Oliver West from Metro Development. They thought they were coming to a best practices presentation. I knew better. Logan stood at the head of the table like a prosecutor preparing to deliver closing arguments. His laptop was connected to the main display, and I could see my presentation file already loaded in the queue. The room had that corporate theater atmosphere, polite smiles hiding the fact that everyone sensed blood in the water. "Good morning, everyone," Logan began with that smooth confidence that MBA programs teach. "Today we're going to examine our vendor management practices and discuss how we can scale our most effective approaches." He looked directly at me. "Russell, why don't you walk us through your relationship management system?" I opened my laptop and connected to the display. The presentation that appeared was the decoy version, 23 slides of vendor tracking methodology, performance metrics, and relationship mapping. Real enough to look comprehensive, but missing every insight that actually mattered. "Slide 1, I said calmly. Vendor Ecosystem Overview. This shows our current supplier network across 6 major categories: concrete, steel, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, and general materials. The slides moved smoothly, charts showing supplier distribution, performance rankings, delivery timelines. I could see Mason and Elena taking notes, probably wondering why they were being shown basic vendor management that any consulting firm should have. I made it through exactly 4 slides before Logan interrupted. "Let's pause here," he said, stepping toward the screen. "I think this is a perfect example of what we need to discuss." He clicked to slide 5 without asking, then 6, then 7, narrating as he went. Notice the heavy emphasis on subjective relationship factors, personal communication preferences, informal check-ins, what Russell calls trust indicators. The room shifted. People stopped taking notes. Gabriel Stone, our accounting manager, glanced at me with something that looked like sympathy. "This approach," Logan continued, now clicking through slides faster than I could follow, represents exactly the kind of inefficiency that makes us vulnerable in a competitive market. Emotional decision-making disguised as relationship management. He reached slide 15, which showed my vendor communication tracking, who I'd called, when, about what projects. To me, it represented careful relationship maintenance. To Logan, it was evidence of wasted time. "Russell's spent 18 months building what amounts to a personal contact list," he said to the room. "Detailed notes about suppliers' family situations, personal preferences, non-business communications. This isn't vendor management. It's social networking on company time." That's when I saw it. Mason Brooks was frowning, not at my presentation, but at Logan. Elena Parker had stopped taking notes entirely. Oliver West was looking at his phone, but in that way people do when they're uncomfortable and want an excuse not to make eye contact. Logan clicked to the final slide. My summary of relationship-based vendor management benefits: cost savings, risk reduction, delivery reliability. Numbers that proved the approach worked, even in the watered-down version I'd prepared. And this, Logan said, hovering his cursor over the delete button, is precisely why we need to move beyond subjective vendor selection toward data-driven optimization. He clicked delete. The presentation vanished from the server. 18 months of work, or at least what Logan thought was 18 months of work, gone with a mouse click. The room went dead silent. "Fresh start," Logan announced, turning back to face everyone. "We'll be implementing an AI-driven vendor selection platform that eliminates bias and optimizes for measurable performance metrics. No more gut feelings, no more personal relationships affecting business decisions. Pure efficiency." I closed my laptop quietly, placed my hands flat on the table, and looked around the room. Nobody met my eyes except Mason Brooks, who was staring at Logan like he'd just watched someone kick a dog. That's when my phone buzzed. I pulled it out, saw the Chicago area code, and stood up. "Excuse me," I said, walking toward the door. "I need to take this." I stepped into the hallway and closed the conference room door behind me. Through the glass, I could see Logan still talking, gesturing at the blank screen where my presentation used to be. "Russell Hayes," I answered. "Russell, this is Caspian Reed from Sterling Construction Consulting. We've been following your work for some time, and frankly, we just watched what happened in that conference room through one of our mutual contacts." I leaned against the wall and looked back through the glass. Mason Brooks was arguing with Logan about something, his voice rising enough that I could see other people in the room getting uncomfortable. "I'm listening," I said. "We're prepared to offer you $180,000 base salary plus profit sharing tied to client retention, full autonomy over vendor relations methodology, no MBA graduates telling you how to manage relationships you've spent 2 decades building." The offer hung in the air like a perfect piece of steel, solid, clean, exactly what the project needed. "I need 48 hours to consider," I said, though I'd already made the decision the moment Logan clicked delete. "Understood. But Russell, don't wait too long. The construction community is smaller than people think, and word travels fast, especially when good people get treated badly." I hung up and stood in the hallway for a moment, watching Logan through the glass. He was still presenting to a room that had clearly checked out. Mason Brooks was typing something on his phone. Elena Parker was packing up her materials. Oliver West had already left. When I walked back into the room, Logan was wrapping up his pitch about algorithmic vendor optimization. "Questions?" he asked the group. Mason Brooks raised his hand. "Yeah, I have one. Who's going to know which concrete supplier actually delivers on schedule when your computer picks the wrong one?" Logan's smile faltered. "Our system will track performance metrics and adjust recommendations based on historical data." "Historical data," Mason repeated. "You mean like the kind of information Russell just deleted? The stuff about which suppliers show up on time and which ones leave you hanging? The platform will generate new performance data based on objective criteria," Logan said, but his confidence was cracking. "Great," Mason said, standing up. "And what happens to my projects while your platform is learning what Russell already knew?" He walked out. Elena followed. Within 2 minutes, the room had cleared except for management team and Logan, standing alone next to his blank presentation screen. I gathered my materials and headed for the door. "Russell," Logan called after me, "we'll need you to document your vendor transition processes before the new system goes live." I turned around and looked at him. Really looked at him for the first time since this whole thing started. "No," I said. "You won't." And I walked out. I submitted my resignation that afternoon. 2 sentences on company letterhead. Effective immediately, I resign from my position as Senior Vendor Relations Manager. My final documentation will be submitted to HR by close of business. Then I called Caspian Reed back and accepted Sterling's offer. Sterling Construction Consulting was everything Logan thought our old company should be. Lean, efficient, results-focused. But they understood something Logan never figured out. In construction, relationships aren't overhead. They're the foundation everything else sits on. Caspian had started Sterling 5 years earlier after watching too many projects fail, because consultants treated vendors like interchangeable commodities instead of strategic partners. My first week there felt like coming home after a long deployment. No corporate buzzwords, no efficiency metrics that missed the point. Just smart people who understood that construction projects succeed or fail based on whether the right materials show up on time, installed by crews who know what they're doing. It didn't take long for the phone to start ringing. Mason Brooks called on my 3rd day. Atlantic Construction was starting a $30 million mixed-use development downtown, and their current consulting firm had selected vendors through what Mason called computer dating, an algorithmic system that matched project requirements with supplier bids without considering actual performance history. Russell, you still tracking suppliers? Because we just got burned on 3 consecutive projects. Different vendors every time, all selected by whatever system our consultants are using now. What happened? Last month, lowest bidder on concrete showed up with half a crew and materials that barely passed spec. Set us back 6 weeks and cost us $120,000 in delay penalties. Month before that, electrical contractor looked great on paper but had never done commercial work above 2 stories. And don't get me started on the HVAC subcontractor who installed ductwork backwards. I knew all 3 companies Mason was describing. They were in my real database, the one Logan thought he'd deleted, with detailed notes about their limitations. The concrete supplier consistently underbid jobs, then cut corners to maintain margins. The electrical contractor specialized in residential work and had no business on commercial projects. The HVAC company had been declining steadily since their senior crew supervisor retired 2 years earlier. I might have some recommendations, I told Mason. Within 2 weeks, Elena Parker called with a similar story. Her current consulting firm's vendor selection algorithm had matched her luxury residential project with a framing contractor who specialized in industrial construction. Different skill set entirely. The crew showed up with equipment sized for warehouse construction, couldn't navigate the tight tolerances of high-end residential work, and had to be replaced halfway through framing. It's like they fed all our requirements into a computer and got back suppliers who met the specs on paper but had no idea what they were actually signing up for, she said. Then Oliver West called. Metro Development had been struggling with delivery coordination since their old consulting firm implemented an automated scheduling system. The system optimized delivery timing based on project timelines, but it didn't account for supplier capacity, seasonal availability, or the fact that some materials had to be delivered in sequence. We had concrete showing up before we finished excavation, steel arriving during concrete pours, and electrical materials sitting in weather for 3 weeks because nobody coordinated with the building schedule, Oliver told me. Cost us $200,000 in storage fees and material replacement. By month 2 at Sterling, I was managing vendor relations for 7 major projects totaling $180 million in construction value. Not because Sterling was undercutting prices, but because general contractors were getting tired of algorithmic vendor selection that looked efficient on spreadsheets but created chaos on job sites. The irony wasn't lost on me. Logan had built his automation platform using intelligence stolen from my relationship database, but artificial intelligence without human context is just expensive guessing. His system could optimize for price, delivery time, and quality ratings, but it couldn't predict which suppliers would actually deliver on their promises when everything went wrong. And in construction, everything always goes wrong. 6 weeks after I left, Gabriel Stone texted me, "Board meeting tomorrow. Executive review of operational performance. Thought you should know." I didn't ask for details, but word travels fast in our industry. Logan's company had lost 4 major client contracts in 2 months. Not dramatic departures with angry letters, just quiet non-renewals when consulting agreements came up for review. Contractors were moving to firms that understood the difference between managing vendors and building partnerships. Then came the email leak that finished Logan completely. Someone, and I honestly never found out who, forwarded a copy of Logan's internal communication to Construction Weekly magazine. In the email, sent 2 days after I resigned, Logan had described longtime suppliers as legacy inefficiencies and called relationship-based vendor selection emotional decision-making that undermines profit optimization. He'd referred to contractors who preferred working with known suppliers as resistant to data-driven improvement and suggested that the construction industry's emphasis on personal relationships was fundamentally incompatible with modern business efficiency. Construction Weekly ran it with the headline, "Disruption or Destruction: When Consultants Miss the Point." The article quoted several general contractors expressing frustration with firms that prioritized algorithms over experience. Mason Brooks was featured prominently. "You can't optimize trust. Either you've built it over years of consistent performance, or you haven't. No computer program changes that." The piece went viral in construction industry circles, shared on LinkedIn thousands of times, discussed in trade forums and project management groups. Logan's name became synonymous with tone-deaf consulting that missed the human element of business relationships. 3 months after I left, Logan was quietly let go. No announcement, no farewell email. His LinkedIn profile just updated to seeking new opportunities in operational excellence. Jordan Walsh disappeared around the same time. Last I heard, he was selling insurance in Ohio. 6 months later, the CEO of my old company called personally. They wanted to discuss bringing me back as Director of Vendor Relations, reporting directly to the board, full autonomy, name my salary. I listened politely and declined. There's a difference between walking away from something and outgrowing it completely. Some bridges you burn, others you just don't need to cross again. Today, I'm managing partner at Sterling. We've grown from 12 employees to 35, handling vendor relations for projects across 3 states. Our client retention rate is 94%, and our average project comes in 8% under budget and 15% ahead of schedule. Last month, I spoke at the National Construction Management Conference about relationship capital in the digital age. The room was packed, 500 industry professionals who understood that construction isn't just about materials and schedules, it's about people who trust each other enough to solve problems together. After my presentation, a young project manager approached me. Couldn't have been older than 30, fresh engineering degree, starting his first consulting job next month. "Mr. Hayes," he said, "any advice for someone just entering the industry?" I thought about Logan, about algorithmic optimization, about the difference between efficiency and effectiveness. "Learn people's names," I told him. "Remember what matters to them. When their projects succeed, celebrate. When they fail, help them understand why. Because 20 years from now, when you need someone to solve an impossible problem on an impossible deadline, it won't be the computers that answer the phone." He nodded like he understood, but I could tell he didn't yet. That wisdom only comes with time, with watching what happens when you treat business relationships like data points instead of human connections. Logan wanted to eliminate the human element from vendor relations. Instead, he eliminated himself. The market has a way of correcting for that kind of arrogance, one relationship at a time. In the end, Logan taught me something valuable. You can't automate wisdom, and you can't algorithm your way to trust. The best revenge isn't destroying someone's career. It's building something so much better that their approach becomes irrelevant.